there. Preparing. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all had a great 4th of July long weekend. I know we did. We are here today. It's beautiful outside. I know in some areas it's like overly heat. They have a lot of heat, but over here in the Chicago area, it's actually very, very nice. Well, it's bright out, and you know what? Because of that, we have a great guest today. Debbie's going to go ahead and introduce you to her. She's amazing. I can't wait for you to hear her stories. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. I'm excited to be here too today on this Wednesday, and it is, like as Laura said, it is beautiful in the Chicagoland area. So I hope it's really nice where you guys are at. But I had the greatest opportunity to meet Lynne at a function, and the part of the function that was so cool is I actually got to hear her speak. And she lives local. Lori and I, as you well know, are originally from the Downers Grove area, and Lynne actually happens to be from like the Naperville area, so logistically she's not too far from our town. But I heard her so eloquently speak about some of the stuff that she does, and I said, Lori, we have got to interview Lynne. We've got to get her on here, because there's people out here that need to hear about what she's going to share that is going to maybe either be able to help them or help someone else they know, because it's more specific. It's a little different. There's a little twist to it, because Lynne is actually, a life coach, but what she does is she helps people with grief support, and she specializes and is certified in that. And she has all different types of things. And I noticed on your portfolio here too, it talks about tapping, which Lori and I have talked about before too and stuff. And it's just crazy how all these things are coming together, and how we have found different topics and different people that we can actually offer and give our listeners and our people that follow us a lot of nuts and bolts that maybe someday or at the present or somewhere in the future, if they need it, they know where to find you. So with that, Lynne, I just want to say thank you so much for being on with us today and taking some time out of your busy schedule to share all about what you do, because it's a gift you have that you're touching lives. I love it. So with that, Lynne, take it away.
Thank you for having me. I've been a companion to grievers for 20 years now, and it started with my own profound loss. A dear friend died. And I just noticed very quickly how we don't really know how to show up for each other in grief in our culture. And it's not our fault. We just continue to promote some really unhealthy notions about how to step into the aftermath of a loss. And so I thought, this is something I really want to do. I want to be that companion for people. And so I love this opportunity to share basically what I've learned over the last 20 years about grief and loss. And I link arms with people really to help them create the next chapter of life after loss. So I often start with new clients just talking about what the definition of grief is. So grief is the normal, natural, innate, so inside of us, response to disappointment and loss. Everyone grieves. But we often use the terms grief and mourning interchangeably, and they're not the same thing. Mourning is giving our grief the attention it deserves. Mourning is sharing our grief with others. Mourning is going public with our grief. And that's the part that not everyone does. And yet that's essential to regaining and maintaining a sense of well-being after loss. And why is it that we don't end up sharing our grief with other people? It's because of these unhealthy notions that continue to get promoted. None of us really mean to, but we can give another person the impression that they shouldn't feel the way they're feeling. Don't feel bad, don't feel sad. She wouldn't want you to be sad. He's not suffering anymore. And people are well-meaning, but it really gives the impression that you should keep your feelings to yourself. We also get the message that there's a way to replace the loss, that we could somehow fill the void with something external or doing something. And so you have a lot of people who will try to have an experience or pull out their credit card to try to feel better off after the loss. And what that does is provides a very maybe short window of feeling better, but you're not really allowing the expression or the feeling of the pain. We get the impression that we should be strong, be strong for others. Those are the images that get put up in media. You see someone famous who has experienced a loss, and then that person, oh, look how strong she is. Look how he's moving on. And yet I wish the message were, doesn't it make sense that when something profoundly sad happens to us, that we would have an extreme reaction? So we don't even know that we're doing this. It's become so much a part of our culture, this idea that, you really need to grieve alone, because so often at every turn, you're met with people who don't seem to understand what you're going through. So grievers tend to isolate. And that's why it's like, wow, I've figured out that I'm on my own in this. And I think people on the other side who want to show up for others feel like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? There's this feeling of pressure to do it the right way. And yet, if we could think of it as showing up, not to say something profound, but to really companion someone, sit with them in their grief. We don't have to say words. We don't have to bring something with us. But we have that idea that there's, I need to fix this, or I need to address this in a really tangible way. And in the beginning, I just think of it as sitting in the puddle with someone, allowing the tears to be there. That's healthy and cleansing. I've heard this when I've been at funerals, people saying to the person who's grieving, oh, just keep busy. And it sounds like such good advice, but I can't tell you how many widows I have talked to who throw themselves headlong into their job or a volunteer opportunity. And at the end of the day, they're exhausted. And what comes flooding into their minds at bedtime? All the things that they kept at bay during the day by keeping busy. And then the last one that is kind of a platitude, I think we put it on magnets and sew it onto pillows, is time heals. And certainly time can bring perspective. Time can allow us to get the support that we need, but time simply marching on, the fact that a month has gone by, that does not heal. So that whole, just give it time can come across as being so insensitive to people. So those are all of the reasons that I like to educate people, because I've done it too. Before I had this good information, I know I've shown up for people in an unhelpful way. And when we know better, we do better. So I work with people actually it's the curriculum-driven program that I was trained in 20 years ago called the Grief Recovery Method. And I love it because it seems to be a really safe way for people to walk through the door, to look at their grief. And there's reading and homework that's very reasonable and accessible. And we talk about loss, because loss is cumulative. Rarely do I meet people who come from a family where they know how to have a conversation about the hardest things. And so that's how we start our conversations. What was loss like for you in your growing up household.
Mhm.
You know, did your mom go behind closed doors and shut the door and cry? Did people throw things? I mean, every situation is unique, and you're going to bring those coping mechanisms to your loss experience. So the program takes about 7 weeks, reading and homework. And I'm telling you, it's so cathartic for people to look at their loss history, kind of see how they've coped. It can be very empowering. Wow, I've really endured a lot of things. And then we look specifically at a particular loss, a death, a divorce. It can be a job loss. It can be a health diagnosis. I think that's another thing that gets in the way is
Right.
how we conceive of loss. It really is more than death. There are so many things that that we experience that get in the way of our health and our happiness. So I do the grief recovery method. I added tapping, which is emotional freedom techniques. When I learned that it was something that could be employed to calm the nervous system under stress, I
Mhm.
thought, I need to know more about this because I can't think of a more stressful time than when you're grieving. And our bodies have so much wisdom. You know, when you're feeling that nervous energy in your stomach, or that tension in your jaw, or the deep sadness in your chest, our bodies let us know what needs tending.
Right.
So I thought it would be really beneficial to my clients if I added this piece to deal with the somatic, to deal with the physiology, because that is impacts all of us. You know, we have some threshold, every one of us, where we're thrown into the stress response.
Mhm.
And when that happens, we can't learn something new. We can't move forward. So with tapping, I help people address some of those things that are really getting in the way. And we can calm down the body. And it doesn't change the fact that you have something really challenging in front of you, but you can bring such calm and clarity to whatever that is. I also do soul collage, which is this wonderful process of bringing found images to your artistic space and turning it into a 5x8 image. And the last thing that I do is I rep Vox Life, which is, these are products that help with optimizing neurobiology. And I feel like all of these things come together to support my clients. So I could talk a long time about this, and I'm just wondering if Debbie or Lori, if either of you have questions for me, something else you'd like me to touch on?
Well, I just have to say something really quick here. First of all, I just want to say that Lori and I did a thing on tapping. You know, we talked about it a while back. And when you said that, I was like so excited to hear it from someone else, because we had this subject and we talked about it, and we kind of like, we don't claim to be any kind of, should I say, experts, but we bring out these subjects to give people options, because then they can go ahead and they can research it. But something interesting I want to say that went through my head. Okay. I know quite a few people, and it touches home with me. You know, my husband had lost his job after 25 years, and grief is there because it's also anger and it's ego and all these things involved in there as well. So, you know, you look at loss of a human being, a friend, a family member, you know, that's so tragic, but these other losses are really difficult as well. And it sounds like what you're doing and how you're approaching it is just, it's just so awesome. You know, I did want to mention, you talked about something coming up soon that you're going to be talking it. If you would like to share that, Lori and I would love to hear about that, and our people would too, because it's a local. I know that too, which is cool.
Yes. So my next soul collage workshop is at Forward Emotion, which is in Lisle, 1440 Maple Avenue. And it's on the second floor. And the owner of this beautiful counseling space is Laura Clay, and she's invited me to bring my workshops there, and I just love being there. It's from 1 to 3:30. It's 2.5 hours. It would be such a gift for someone to give themselves that amount of time just for self-reflection, self-expression. And, you know, I have a card with me that I'd like to just show you. This is the size of the card. This actually represents my dream life. You never know what bringing these bits to your workspace or how it's going to end up. And then at the end of the workshop, we share, and there's a prompt. And the prompt is, I am the one who, and then you show the energy of your finished canvas. And it ends up just being so brilliant because you're connecting to your internal voice. And using images, we get our ego mind out of the way. So it's just a brilliant workshops. It's $25.
Wow, it's very reasonable. Very reasonable.
2:30. And you know, I can put my email in a chat, or if you go to the Forward in Motion page on Facebook, I'm guessing you'll be able to see the promotion there.
Absolutely. Laura, do you have any questions, Laura?
Oh, I just think everything you're doing is just amazing. You know, a lot of people, like you said, they just don't know what to do when they're grieving. You know, they feel like they're a burden for somebody, and just to go through and realize, and actually both the caregiver, I should say the person that's the friend, and the person that's going through, this is a great thing for both types of people, because as somebody that's a friend to somebody that's going through a hard thing, so we don't know what to say all the time. And as a person that's going through it, we feel like we're a burden, and that's all we're doing is complaining all the time. So your programs are great for that, for people to get more self-esteem about sharing their problems. Is that the best way to say it?
Absolutely.
Well, and I think that we don't tend to know how to express what's going on with us, and we're not encouraged to do so.
Right.
And yet the weight of grief is undelivered emotional communication.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
So I think expression is essential when you're grieving, and yet we don't tend to have the vocabulary for it. So one of the things that I give my clients, I literally give them feelings vocabulary words for them to look over, because we tend to be really limited in, you know, I don't really know how I'm feeling. I just have these, you know, sensations in my body. And yet, you know, I especially encourage parents of young children to start using that kind of language around their children, so their children will develop that ability to express themselves. I'm feeling confused. I feel disappointed. I feel frustrated.
Right.
I feel sad.
Right.
To, you know, and for the grown-ups to model that language, but we don't, for the reason, Lori, you said, is we don't want to be the complainer.
Right.
We want to be, you know, we got to show people how strong we are. And our culture, actually, there's a badge of honor for being so stressed and in distress, you know? And so we get these mixed messages.
Right.
And
yeah. And here's another thing I just want to say is that I feel like when there's so many people that want to be that rock hard, solid person, you know, because they have so many people around them. And let's just say if it's a woman who lost a husband who has children, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And if they don't let this out, if they don't get the help they need, it backfires into this turmoil of like inner unhealthiness that can totally like disrupt their immune system. It can disrupt their, you know, their health, you know, their physical appearance, that, you know, they may not, you know, just everything. And so there's a lot more to it than meets the, you know, the average person might not think of, that is part of this whole, you've got to get this the balance back and get the grieving right and get, a program like this is just phenomenal. That's all I'm going to say. That's as I'm trying to say is it's just phenomenal because there's somewhere they can go. And maybe even too, I would imagine, finding other people that they can relate to, because not every situation is obviously going to be the same, so.
I agree with you that I think those kinds of strong emotions held in are what contribute to illness and disease.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
And so I think everyone should have someone to talk to. And if you don't have that in a partnership or a best friend,
yeah,
that there are really good people out there. But if you're grieving, make sure that your therapist has that expertise.
Right.
Because not every therapist does have that background in grief support. And so do a little homework when you're looking for that kind of support.
And can I just mention one more thing too? And I think this goes across the board for any kind of consulting in any way, whether it's therapist or in grief or anything, that if you don't find the right fit, just go consult and don't feel like that one opportunity or that you went and did something is not you shouldn't continue. Okay. So maybe if you haven't found the right connection that works for you, go check again. Lori and I talk a lot about being your own advocate with your health and wellness. Okay. So maybe you have to further go out and find someone else that might be a better fit for you, in your situation, and I know Lynne we talked previously to starting here and she did talk a little bit about, and I loved how you were so open about this, about like, other people too. Like, and if you don't click with someone, maybe you'll feel it even too. And you've got such a giving heart that you're like, well, I'll find them or I'll help them or find someone else that might be the right fit. I think there's a lot to be said with that, I can't imagine you, Lynne, not being the right fit though for somebody, because you're just so calm, you know what I'm saying? But there could be situations, maybe somebody's listening to this and maybe they are already consulting with somebody or talking with somebody or having sessions with somebody. Just be open to the fact that, maybe you need to see another person in addition. Who knows? It's just don't give up. Push on. So.
And if I had to summarize today about maybe the one thing I want people to hear from me is that we all are going to have opportunities to support someone in grief. And it is just a given. And to just show up because so many people won't.
Right.
And I think it's something we can do, and we can sit in the discomfort, our own discomfort, because I think that's why so many of us stay away. It's self-protection.
Right.
I don't know what to do. I might say the wrong thing, and then people don't say anything.
Right. Yeah.
And that feels so unsupportive and insensitive.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Well, we really appreciate you being on with us. This whole platform for the health and wellness of you is so broad. It is so huge. We are always striving to get different things on here and different subjects and different people that we can really spotlight so that we can hear. And I'm so blessed to know that you were able to do this for us. And I feel like Lori and I just, this is another area, and it doesn't matter what age bracket you're in.
Right.
We're all going to experience stuff, and it's not easy. Lori and I have definitely experienced stuff, and we know, it's hard. With that, Lori, I'm going to turn it over to you. Close us out.
Okay, and Lynne again, and you know what? I think I'm going to sign up for your thing that you're doing on the September. Oh no, not September.
July. July 17th. It's a Sunday afternoon.
Okay, and it's going to be in Naperville. In Lisle.
Lisle. Forward Emotion. Yeah, I'll get you the details. I'll get the details.
Absolutely.
Okay, with that, everyone, go out and have a great day. Smile, make somebody happy.
Yep.
And we'll see you on Friday. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you, Lynne.
Bye.
Thank you.